Over the last few weeks, there's been a lot of controversy surrounding Malo, Minecraft's best player, and when I say this is the biggest Minecraft drama I've ever seen, I'm not even exaggerating. So in today's video, I'll be covering Malo's entire story from start to finish. Even if you've been following the situation for weeks, I promise you're gonna learn something new from this video. This is the full story of Malo. But before we get into everything, we are so close to 20,000 subscribers. So hit that subscribe button and drop a like on the video because trust me, this is gonna be the longest and most detailed breakdown of this situation you'll ever see. And I'm gonna cover stuff that literally nobody else is talking about. Okay, so let's start from the very beginning, because to understand why this situation is so crazy, you need to understand who Malo is and how she got to where she is today. And when you see the full timeline of everything that happened, you're gonna realize this goes way deeper than anyone thought. So back then, the Minecraft competitive PvP tier list was basically just a mess. Like, rankings were kept in a Google spreadsheet that someone had to manually update. Players had to coordinate tier tests through different Discord servers. There was no real system, no automation, nothing. It was basically held together with duct tape. And honestly, it's kinda crazy that anyone took it seriously at all because it was so disorganized. But then Malo showed up. And she didn't just join the tier list stuff and help out. She completely revolutionized the entire thing. Like, she created MCtiers.com, which is a full website that displays rankings, tracks player progress, and automates everything that used to take hours of manual work. She made a Discord bot that handles waitlists, queuing, and results. She created this whole ranking system that encourages players to try different game modes instead of just sticking to one. And she even made the blacklist system, which punishes people for doing bad stuff that used to just go unpunished. And here's the crazy part, she paid for all of this herself, like the graphic design, the programming, the monthly hosting for the website and bot and everything. This wasn't some community project, this was one person's vision that she funded out of her own pocket. And not gonna lie, that's actually pretty impressive when you think about it. Soon she got promoted to network owner, like she was now running the entire tier list alongside Angst, who founded the original network, and Learn, who we'll talk about more later because he becomes a huge problem. But at this point, Malo wasn't just an owner, she was also competing and she was really good. She started with KitPvP and became one of the top players. Then she moved to other modes, Sword, Axe, SMP, Diamond Pot, Netherite Pot, and one by one she got tier 1 in all of them, like she became the first person ever to achieve tier 1 in every single game mode. And that's actually insane, like nobody had ever done that before. She was literally the best player in the world according to the tier list. But here's where things started to get suspicious, because even back then people were noticing weird stuff about her gameplay. So before Malo was good at everything, she was mainly known for KitPvP, and clips started going around showing Malo placing and hitting crystals way faster than anyone thought was possible. Like, people were watching her gameplay and saying, dude, there's no way a human can do that. She has to be cheating somehow. And the community was pretty convinced she was using some kind of cheat to crystal abnormally fast. But then Malo did something really smart. She released a mod called the Crystal Optimizer, and this mod makes placing and hitting crystals client-sided, which means you can do it way faster. And she said it was a tool to help high-paying players have less of a disadvantage. Like, she branded it as this helpful thing for the community. But dude, here's what's so sketchy about this. A lot of people, including Ximity, who we'll talk about later, think this was the exact mod she was secretly using as a cheat for months before she released it. Like, she was cheating, people started noticing, and instead of getting banned, she just released the cheat publicly and said it was always meant to be a helpful tool. And because she was a community leader and owned the tier list, she got away with it. Like, she basically made a cheat legal by releasing it as a mod. And not gonna lie, that's actually genius in a really messed up way. Because think about it, if any other player got caught cheating, they'd be banned instantly. But Malo just turned her cheat into an allowed mod and nobody could do anything about it. And this sets a really important precedent for the rest of the story, because it shows that Malo was willing to bend the rules in her favor and she had the power to do it. And dude, this is where you start to see the pattern forming. Like, this isn't just a one-time thing, this is Malo establishing that she operates differently than everyone else. She controls the rules. She controls what's allowed and what isn't. And if she gets caught doing something suspicious, she just changes the rules so it's not suspicious anymore. That's actually insane when you think about it. Like, imagine if a professional athlete got caught using performance enhancing drugs, and instead of getting banned, they just made those drugs legal. That's literally what happened here. And the community just accepted it because Malo had so much power and influence at that point. Okay, so around the same time, there was this other controversy called the method. And basically the method was a technique involving mouse button rebinding that gave you certain advantages in PvP. And here's the thing, it was allowed on most servers at the time. Like Malo actually asked stuff on the biggest servers if it was okay to use, and they said yes. She has proof of this, screenshots of stuff saying it's allowed. But Learn, who was the third network owner, tried to make it seem like Malo was closet cheating. Like he pushed to get it banned in the vanilla tier list and tried to frame Malo as someone who was dishonestly using exploits. And dude, this is where you start to see that Learn had it out for Malo. Like he was actively trying to make her look bad even though she had permission to use the technique. And this is important because Learn becomes a huge part of why Malo eventually had to leave. But we'll get to that later. For now, just understand that Learn was targeting Malo and trying to manipulate situations to make her look like a cheater, even when she wasn't doing anything wrong. And honestly, when you look at the whole Learn situation, it's kinda crazy how long this went on. Like we are talking about years of manipulation and targeting. Years of Learn lying about rules, making mean comments in private while pretending to be friendly in public, and just generally being a toxic presence in Malo's life. And the worst part, Angst knew about all of this and did nothing. Like Malo would come to Angst with evidence of Learn's behavior, and Angst would just say, yeah, I'll deal with it, and then never actually do anything. That's actually messed up when you think about it, because Angst was supposed to be the founder, the guy in charge, and he just let this toxic situation continue for years. So as Malo kept building MCtiers and kept dominating as a player, something really problematic started happening. She basically created a monopoly. Like she owned MCtiers, which is the only ranking system anyone takes seriously. She owned PvP Club, which is the server where you're allowed to do tier tests. And she was ranked tier 1 in every single game mode. And dude, this is a massive conflict of interest. Because think about it, she controls the rankings, she controls the only place you can test, and she's also the top ranked player. So she's basically the referee and the player at the same time. And not gonna lie, that's super sketchy. Like how can anyone trust that the system is fair when the person at the top of the rankings also controls the entire system? And this becomes really important later when the cheating allegations come out. How will we even know if Malo is cheating? She controls the server where tests happen. She controls the anti-cheat. She controls who gets screenshot and when. Like she could cheat and never get caught because she owns everything. And here's what makes this even more suspicious. Malo has only been screenshot one time. And she knew about it in advance. Like she had warning that she was gonna be screenshot, so she had time to prepare. Compare that to literally any other high level player who gets screenshot multiple times with no warning, and you start to see the double standard. Like Eximity was screenshot every single time he did a tier test in X. Every single time. But Malo, once, with advance notice. That doesn't seem fair at all. Okay, so now we need to talk about what was happening behind the scenes with the network owners. Because while Malo was building this empire publicly, there was a ton of drama going on privately between her, Learn, and Angst. So Malo and Learn did not get along, like at all, and according to Malo, Learn was actively manipulating her and targeting her for years. He would lie about rules to make her look bad. He would manipulate her in situations that seemed genuine but were actually just him messing with her. He would make mean comments about her in private while pretending to be friendly in public. And he even rigged the vanilla PvP tournament, which is confirmed corruption. And Malo put up with this for a long time, like she talked to Angst about it for over a year and a half. She had text conversations and voice calls explaining how Learn was targeting her and doing other sketchy stuff, like boosting and account sharing, and Angst kept promising her that Learn would be demoted. Like he said, when the website is ready, Learn will be removed. The website launched, months passed, Learn was still there. And this went on and on until July 24 when Malo finally had enough and made a 40-minute video segment called My Experience with the Minecraft PvP Community, where she exposed everything Learn had done to her. And dude, she came with receipts. Like she had screenshots, she had evidence, she proved that Learn had been lying and manipulating her for years. And you'd think that would be the end of it, right? Like she exposed him, everyone would see the truth and Learn would get demoted. Instead, Angst started this whole process where Malo and Learn would both make lists of accusations against each other, and Angst would review them and give a final verdict. And dude, this process took forever, like almost 4 months, and during this time, Malo was just stuck waiting, not knowing if she'd be cleared or if Learn would somehow turn this around on her. And Learn made 4 main accusations against Malo. Let me go through them real quick because this is important. First, he accused her of helping someone benefit back in the days. And this one is actually true. Malo admitted to this. Basically, a player named Wemmbu got blacklisted for doxing, and Malo let her play on someone else's account on the server Malo managed. And Marlow knows this was wrong. She resigned from her manager position because of it, and she's been open about it. So like, yeah, she did something corrupt here, but she took responsibility for it at the time. Second, Lern accused her of closet cheating with the method. But this is false. Like, Marlow had stuff permission to use. She has screenshots proving she asked if it was allowed and they said yes. So this accusation is just Lern lying again. Third, Lern accused her of dodging tier tests, and this is also false. Malo was warned by an admin that a malware developer named Very Violent, who had targeted her before, might have access to the server she was supposed to test on, so she avoided the test for safety reasons. Keep this in mind because it becomes an important piece of evidence later in the video. And fourth, Lern accused her of making a video to maliciously attack his character. But dude, Malo made that video because her reputation was getting destroyed by lies. Like, she spent months working on it, gathering evidence and proving what actually happened. That's not a malicious attack, that's self-defense. So Malo defended herself against all 4 points. And on August 21st, Angst gave his verdict. Lern was gonna be demoted. But then Lern objected. He said that if he's getting demoted for his behavior, then Malo should also be demoted because they are equally at fault. And instead of just saying no and following through with the demotion, Angst reopened the whole thing. Like, he completely backtracked and said they have to go through this whole process again. And dude, this went on for months. Angst kept giving her false promises about when he reviewed everything. At one point, Angst literally showed up drunk to schedule discussion and they had to reschedule. And during all of this, Angst was asking Malo to post advertisements for him. Like, he had time to make money off the tier list, but he didn't have time to actually deal with this situation that was destroying Malo's reputation. And let me just say, that's actually insane. Like, imagine you're in a situation where someone has been manipulating and lying about you for years, and the person who's supposed to help you keeps delaying and delaying because they're too busy or too drunk to deal with it, but they have time to ask you to make them money. That's actually ridiculous. And it shows that Angst didn't really care about doing the right thing. He just wanted to avoid the situation and keep making money off the tier list that Malo built. And then in September, something crazy happened. During a discussion in the network owners group chat, Lern apologized to Malo. Like, he admitted he was wrong and said he'd be leaving soon. But dude, he never actually resigned. He kept giving vague answers about when he'd leave. And then he did a live stream where someone asked if things with Malo were resolved. And Lern said, "Our working relationship is good. We continue to collaborate on a lot of things." Like, he was publicly acting like everything was fine when privately he had just said he was resigning. And then 2 weeks later, Lern told Malo he wasn't resigning anymore. His reason? Malo wasn't currently helping with network operations. Which is insane because the only reason Malo wasn't helping is because she was waiting for Lern to be removed so she could actually work without being harassed by him. So now we are back to square one. Malo defending herself against Lern's accusations, waiting for Angst to give a verdict, and Angst just kept delaying and delaying. And dude, it was the most absurd thing I've ever heard. Instead of removing Lern, Angst said they should all work together in good faith for 1 month. They'd have weekly voice calls, make all decisions as a team, and if anyone showed bad behavior, they'd be removed immediately. And Malo was like, "Are you serious? You admitted that Lern manipulated me. You admitted he lied. And your solution is for me to work closely with him and assume well of him? Like, how am I supposed to trust someone who's been manipulating me for years?" And not gonna lie, this verdict makes no sense. Because Angst knew Lern was in the wrong, but instead of removing him, he basically told Malo to just get over it and try to be friends with a manipulator. And that's not a solution, that's just avoiding the problem. And honestly, this whole situation with Angst is one of the most frustrating parts of this entire story. Because Angst had the power to fix everything, he could have just removed Lern and moved on, but instead he dragged it out for months and months, gave Malo false hope, and then delivered this completely insane verdict that basically told Malo she needed to work with a person who had been making her life hell for years. Like, how is that fair? How is that justice? It's not. And it shows that Angst was more interested in avoiding conflict than actually doing the right thing. So Malo eventually decided to leave. Like, she officially told Angst she was migrating MCtiers and splitting off from the network. And when she did this, Angst deleted the network owners group chat. Like, he deleted all the evidence of their discussions, all the proof of Lern lying, all the proof of Angst delays, everything gone. And his reason, he deleted it so Malo couldn't use evidence against each other. And dude, that just makes everything worse, because now any conversation that happened in the chat can be twisted or made up. And there's no way to verify what actually happened. And this is actually such a sketchy move. Like, when someone deletes evidence, that's usually a sign they're trying to hide something. And in this case, deleting the chat means that all of Malo's defenses, all of the proof she had gathered, all of the conversations showing Lern's manipulation, all of it is just gone. Learn can just deny it and there's no way to prove who's telling the truth. That's actually crazy when you think about it. Okay, so I mentioned this earlier, but we need to talk about it in more detail. Because while Malo was being targeted by Learn, she also did something corrupt herself. So in October 2022, a player named Wemmbu got blacklisted for doxing, and the situation was kind of complicated. The evidence against her was from months before the report, and the person who reported her was someone who had been malicious toward Malo in the past. And the whole thing started because Wemmbu reported someone for alting and hacking, which made that person's friends mad at her. So Malo felt like Wemmbu was being unfairly punished. Like she thought Wemmbu had reformed between the time the evidence was from and the time she got banned, and she thought the report was made maliciously. So in December 2022, someone asked Malo to VPN whitelist their account on a server Malo managed, and when Malo asked why, the person admitted it was so Wemmbu could play on their account and invade the ban. And dude, Malo approved it. Like she knew it was ban invasion and she did it anyway, because she personally believed Wemmbu didn't deserve the ban. And this is wrong, like Malo admits this was wrong. It doesn't matter if she thought that ban was unfair. She's not supposed to help people evade punishments, that's corruption and she knows it. But here's the thing, Malo took responsibility for this. When someone asked her about it in January 2023, she told the truth even though there was no proof, and she resigned from a vanilla tier list manager position because of it. Like she didn't even try to hide or deny it. She admitted what she did and stepped down from the position it was relevant to. And I think this is important context because yeah, Malo did engage in corruption once, but it was a single incident. She took accountability and she resigned from the relevant position. That's different from Learn, who had a pattern of corruption and never took accountability for any of it. And honestly, this whole Wemmbu situation shows something kind of interesting about Malo. Like she clearly cares about fairness and doing what she thinks is right, even if it means breaking the rules. But the problem is, when you're in a position of power, you can't just decide which rules apply and which don't, based on your personal feelings. That's how corruption happens, and even though Malo took responsibility for this one incident, it does make you wonder if there were other times where she banned the rules because she thought she was doing the right thing. Okay, so now we get to something that's super suspicious. So there's this guy named Very Violent, whom I mentioned earlier in the video, and he's a notorious coder who made multiple top tier PvP hack clients. Like this guy is known for making cheats, and he's completely blacklisted from MCtiers for multiple reasons. And in 2023, he literally threatened Malo's entire family. Like, this is someone who should be Malo's enemy, right? A friend of MCtiers who's close to someone connected to Very Violent revealed that Malo and Very Violent are secretly friends. Like, right now. Today, they are friends. And Malo confirmed this to MCtiers directly, and Very Violent made it clear he wanted this kept secret. And he told people that Malo does a lot of things people don't know about to get an advantage in PvP. Because back in 2023, if you were even associated with Very Violent, Malo would blacklist you. Like she had a zero tolerance policy. But now she's secretly friends with him, the guy who threatened her family. The guy who makes hack clients? And MCtiers say this has him completely convinced that Malo is doing something shady even today. Because why would you be secret friends with one of the most notorious hack creators in the community unless you're getting something from him? And the fact that Very Violent literally said Malo does things people don't know about to get advantages? Dude, that's basically him admitting she's cheating. And let me just emphasize how crazy this is. Very Violent threatened Malo's family. Like, that's not a small thing, that's serious. And yet Malo is friends with him. And not just casual friends, but secret friends. Like, they're actively hiding this friendship from the community. And why would you hide a friendship unless there's something sketchy about it? You wouldn't. And the fact that Very Violent, who makes hack clients for a living, is saying that Malo does things people don't know about to get advantages? Come on, that's not subtle, that's basically a confession. Okay, so the next part is kind of conspiracy theory-ish, but there's actually a lot of evidence for it. Okay, so this next part is kind of conspiracy theory-ish, but there's actually a lot of evidence for it. So over a year ago, someone made a video bringing up a bunch of weird coincidences that suggest that Malo might not be who she says she is. And specifically, the theory was that Malo's real identity is actually a player named Danger Mario. So who is Danger Mario? He was a player on a big vanilla anarchy server who was active in the early days of vanilla PvP, and he was actually a legitimate staff member for PvP Club at one point. And here are the coincidences. Malo and Danger Mario have the same PC specs, same hotbar layout, same text while editing, same cursor color, and Malo is closely connected to a series of Danger Mario alt on Purity Vanilla, and she's closely related to Danger Mario's friends. But here's the critical detail. Danger Mario was stuffed for PvP Club, and it's known that Malo has secretly been stuffed for a very long time. Like in one instance, Malo had access to server logs when she publicly wasn't a staff member, so she had secret staff access. And that's a screenshot that exists from over a year ago before Ximity's Exposed came out, and Ximity confirms this screenshot is 100% real. Like this isn't something someone just made up recently. So Malo made a debunking video where she talked about her entire PvP experience and basically cleared the name, and most people believed her. But there was one weird thing. A lot of people say the voice in the debunking video sounded like AI, and at first people dismissed this because Malo had an old Crystal Guide video where she spoke, and that voice was clearly not AI. Like AI voice changers didn't even exist when she made that video. But when you compare voices across different videos, things get weird. Her old Crystal Guide sounds one way, her debunking video which was recorded outside on the phone sounds completely different, and her new videos with a new microphone sound exactly the same as the phone recording, but they sound different from the old video. And Malo claims to be a full-grown adult, so her voice shouldn't be changing drastically. She said she got a new microphone, which could explain some of it, but the phone recording matching the new mic is suspicious. And Malo claims to be a full-grown adult, so her voice shouldn't be changing drastically. She said she got a new microphone, which could explain some of it, but the phone recording matching the new mic is suspicious. Because why would a phone recording and a professional mic sound identical? And Ximity originally thought the person who made the Danger Mario video was just jealous of Malo. Like Malo told him the creator was jealous of her being the best at PvP. But now Ximity thinks that creator might have actually been onto something real. And honestly, the whole Danger Mario theory is one of those things that sounds crazy at first, but then when you actually look at all of the evidence, it starts to make sense. Like all these coincidences adding up, the same PC specs, same hotbar, same editing style, same cursor color, that's a lot of specific details to match. And then you add in the secret stuff access and the voice changing across videos, and it really does start to look suspicious. Okay, so now we get to early 2026 when people really start noticing that Malo's gameplay looks suspicious. And dude, once you see the evidence, it's hard to unsee it. So people start doing frame by frame analysis of Malo's videos, and they found some really sketchy stuff. In her Mace PvP montage, she does stun slams, which are super hard techniques. All 5 of them exactly 7 frames every single time. No variation. And for context, stun slams are really difficult. Even top players mess them up, but Malo did 5 perfect ones with identical timing. And that's not just good, that's suspicious, because humans have natural variation. Like you're not gonna do something 5 times with the exact same timing unless there's automation involved. But it gets worse. She also does attribute swaps in the same video, and she does this 76 times, and out of 76 attempts, 74 of them took exactly 3 frames. That's 1/60th of a second, and she's hitting this timing 97% of the time. And people are saying that's not humanly possible. Like even if you're the best player in the world, you're gonna have some variation, but Malo doesn't. And then there's the respawn anchor stuff in Crystal PvP. Over 102 instances analyzed, and she's hitting the same timing 99% of the time. Only 1 deviation out of over 100 attempts. And dude, that's what a macro does, that's not what a human does. And honestly, when you look at all these numbers together, it's actually kind of overwhelming. Like 97% consistency, 99% consistency, 5 identical executions. That's not normal human performance, that's robotic, and that's automated by macros. And the fact that multiple different people analyzing multiple different techniques are all finding the same pattern of inhumane consistency, that's not a coincidence. And then people start looking at her aim, and multiple analysts, including a well-known player named Mario Kart, think she's using horizontal aimbot. And the reason they think it's horizontal only because in Mace PvP, you need to control your vertical aim for flying with elytra, throwing poles, and using wind charges. If you had full aimbot, it will mess all that up, but if you only had horizontal aimbot, you'd have perfect left-right tracking while keeping full control over your up and down movement. And when you watch a tier 1 Mace PvP montage with this in mind, it looks super blatant. Like after she hits someone with a mace, she does these weird flicks to the left or right before tracking them forward. And there's no reason to aim in those directions when you know the enemy is gonna fly forward. But if you look closely, she's always aiming at the exact angle between her head and the opponent's head. It's like her aim is magnetically pulled to them. But okay, maybe you're thinking these are just clips. Clips can be misleading. So let's talk about the statistical stuff. In a 40-minute tier test between Malo and a player named Legendary, someone went through and counted every single shield stun. For those who don't know, a shield stun is when you disable someone's shield with an axe, and it's pretty hard to pull off consistently. Legendary, who's a tier 1 player, landed 168 successful shield breaks and missed 37 times. That's an 82% success rate, which is what you'd expect from a really good player. Marlow landed 199 successful shield breaks and missed twice out of 199 attempts for over 40 minutes. That's a 99% success rate, and one of those misses she actually got on the same hit, so it's closer to 1.5 misses. And dude, that's not normal. Even the best players in the world are not hitting 99% success rates on difficult mechanics over a 40-minute period. That's just not realistic for a human. And like, let me put this into perspective for you guys. 82% versus 99%. That's a 17% difference. That might not sound like a lot, but in a competitive game where everyone is already really good, that difference is actually massive. Like, Legendary is a tier 1 player, he's one of the best in the world, and he's hitting 82%, which is already really good. But Marlow is hitting 99%, that's not just slightly better, that's a completely different level. Okay, so now we get to probably the most damning piece of evidence, and this is the thing that makes it really hard to defend Marlow. So in May 2025, a player named Vaxe, who was a previous high tier 1 sword player, challenged Marlow to a duel, and the stakes were simple. If Marlow won, she'd get $350. If she lost, she wouldn't lose anything. And here's the thing, Malo had already beaten Vax 20-4 on MCPvP before, so this should have been easy money for her. But there was one catch. The fight had to happen on Mindman Club, not on Malo's server. It's known by pretty much every top player as having the best anti-cheat among all the 1.9 servers. Like, it's been used to catch numerous high-profile cheaters, and it's specifically designed to detect closer cheats. Multiple admins and top players have confirmed that it's the most reliable anti-cheat out there. So if you're a legit player, this shouldn't be a problem at all, especially if you've already beaten your opponent before. So what did Malo do? Did she just hop on and take the easy $350? Nope, she stopped for 6 hours. Let me repeat that. 6 hours. It started at 11 PM for Vax, and Malo said she was available to fight right now, but then she said she needed to change her mod pack, and that took 3 hours. 3 hours just to change mods. And as someone who knows a thing or two about mod packs, that makes absolutely zero sense whatsoever. Then after she finally got on My Man Club, it took her another hour just to accept the duel. She kept stalling and stalling until it was literally daylight outside for Vax, who had to leave to catch a flight, so the fight never happened. And then Malo got banned from the tier 2 plus sword Discord where all of this went down. And it was pretty much just known in that community that she was probably cheating. If you're legitimately the #1 player in the world and you've already beaten someone 20-4, why would you stall for 6 hours and avoid playing on a server with good anti-cheat for only $350? It doesn't make any sense unless you're trying to avoid getting caught. And that's the thing that really gets me about this whole situation. It's not just the statistics, it's the behavior, it's the avoidance, it's the fact that she only plays on her own server and never goes to tournaments elsewhere. It's all of it combined. And under Malo's stepping down announcement, which we'll get to later, Vaxe commented, "You calling anyone malicious is the irony of the century. You are literally the living hell of this community." And honestly, the comment says everything. Like, Vaxe is someone who actually interacted with Malo, who tried to fight her, who experienced her stalling tactics firsthand. And his takeaway is that she's the living hell of the community. That's not just a random hater, that's someone with direct experience calling her out. Okay, so after weeks of mounting allegations and community pressure, Malo finally released a response video, and it was called Hacking is Bad, and the video was handcam footage of Malo fighting a previous high tier 1 player across 3 game modes, UHC, Diamond Pod, and SMP. And at first people were like, okay, finally we're getting some transparency. Like, handcam footage is pretty much the best way to prove you're not cheating, right? But dude, there was a major problem with this video. The handcam only showed her mouse. Like, literally just the mouse, not the keyboard. And when you think about what the accusations actually are, this becomes a massive issue, because pretty much all of the macro allegations are about keyboard inputs. Like, stun slams are sword to axe to mace to sword hotkeys. Attribute swaps are sword to mace to sword hotkeys. Shield stuns could be mouse or keyboard. Anchoring is hotkey sequences. All of this is keyboard stuff. So yeah, we can see that she's moving her mouse manually and clicking with her mouse. But we have no idea if she's using macros on the keyboard, and that's kind of the entire point of the accusation. And dude, there's so many ways you could still be using macros even with a handcam on your mouse. And honestly, the fact that she only showed the mouse is actually really telling. Because if you were trying to prove you're not using macros, wouldn't you show your keyboard? That's where the macros would be. That's what people are accusing you of. So why not just show the keyboard and clear your name completely? The only reason to not show your keyboard is if you have something to hide. But here's where things get absolutely devastating. Because Malo's best friend Swite, who's literally a top 3 player in the world, watched this video and left a comment that he clearly didn't want to to leave. He said, and I'm gonna read this word for word, "It's honestly tragic that I'm making this comment as Malo has been a great friend to me, but I can't sit here and not point out the fact that 90% of the disables in this UHC footage are not double clicks. Well, if you compare it to footage in her test against me, she literally hits every single stun. I hope she can respond with a reason that justifies this fact." Dude, let me break this down because this is actually the craziest part of the entire handcam video. Swight is saying that in the handcam video where Malo is being watched, she's only hitting like 10% of her shield stuns. But in her regular footage, like when she was fighting him in the tier test, she was hitting 99% of them. Like literally every single one. And this is coming from her friend, a top 3 player in the world who has everything to lose by saying this. He even says it's tragic that he has to make this comment. Like you can really tell he didn't want to say this. But the evidence was just too obvious for him to ignore. And the implications are insane. When she's playing with a handcam and people can see what she's doing, she's only hitting 10% of her shield stuns. But when there's no handcam and nobody's watching, she's hitting 99%. And the only explanation that makes sense is that she can't use whatever she's been using when there's a handcam on. And Malo's response to this comment, she said, "The bee's nest is gonna get real stirred by this comment, lol. I'll address macroing related allegations in my video essay." And she also said, "This video clears most of the accusations being made against me at the moment." And dude, that's objectively false. The video only shows her mouse, it doesn't address keyboard macros, it doesn't explain the statistical anomalies, it doesn't explain the backstay stall, and it definitely doesn't explain the performance difference that Swight just pointed out. And honestly, the way Malo responded to Swight's comment is actually really revealing, because instead of being like, "Oh man, that's a good point, let me explain what's happening," she's dismissive and deflects to a future video. That's not what someone who's innocent does. That's what someone who's buying time does. Okay, so in January 2026, things got even crazier because Ximity, who was literally Malo's friend, dropped a full exposed video on her. And dude, this wasn't just some random person making accusations, they were super close for over 4 years. He defended her for years, and now he's exposing her. And let me tell you about Ximity real quick because this matters. He's been in the tier list community since 2021. Since 2022, he's been regarded as the best player in the Axe kit. He was ranked high tier 1 in Axe for over a year straight and was completely untouchable. Like, this is not some random low tier player making accusations, this is one of the best players of all time. But Ximity got banned, and here's what happened. In early 2024, someone did tier tests on Ximity's account using cheats, and after a few days they got caught, and as punishment all of Ximity's tiers were removed, including his Axe tier where he was completely legitimate and had been screenshot multiple times proving it. And Ximity thinks this was pretty unfair because just a ban from SMP kit would have been enough. But they removed everything. But the real reason for his continued ban is actually darker. So Ximity revealed that he had a secret double life. Publicly, he was a nice content creator, but privately he was friends with one of the most harmful players in the community since he was 12 years old. And he actually took part in doxing another player, and he fully admits this was messed up and that he deserved his ban for it. But here's the thing, after he left the community for almost a year, he came back with a video addressing everything, and he got mostly positive reception, and Malo promised him he could appeal his ban. But over a year later, he's still completely in the dark. Because there's no appeal system. It's been in development for over 9 months and still doesn't exist. And in this exposed video, Ximity laid out everything. The Crystal Optimizer being a cover-up cheat, the Very Violent connection where Very Violent confirmed Malo does things people don't know about to get advantages, the suspicious clips, the fact that Ximity suggested uploading unedited tier test footage behind a membership paywall 9 months ago, but Malo never did it. And he also talked about Rapture, who's the best Mace PvP player and also moderator on PvP Club. And Ximity said that an admin on the MCtiers network told him in a voice call that Rapture literally admitted to being an alt account. And the admin said it's really weird why they aren't banned right now. So they knew Rapture was cheating, they knew he was an alt, they screenshot him and either didn't find anything or pretended not to. And then they just let him keep his rank. And Ximity said that the tier list stuff are completely okay with this and are actively helping him. And Ximity's assessment of Rapture was possibly the most blatant cheating alt I've ever seen in my entire life. And dude, the Rapture situation is actually really important to the Malo story, because it shows that this isn't just about one person. This is about a system of corruption. Like, Malo stuff are actively protecting cheaters. They are doing fake screenshots, they are letting people keep their ranks even when they know they are alts. If you're interested about Rapture, I actually made a full video about the situation, so you can check it out after this one. And this all points back to Malo, because she's the one who built this system. She's the one who hired these staff members. She's the one who set the culture. So even if Malo herself wasn't directly involved in protecting Rapture, the fact that the staff feel comfortable doing it shows that there's something really wrong with how things are being run. So after Accidentally posted this video, Marlow left a comment. She said, "This video is incredibly disingenuous. The amount of times you directly and probably lie to the viewer shows that it's not merely that you are misinformed, but that you're deliberately being malicious. I will cover your claims along with many others in a video." So after all this, Malo released another video, but it wasn't a handcam or a PC check like people wanted. It was a tutorial on how to hit players in any direction in Minecraft. It was about this advanced knockback mechanic, and basically the tutorial explains that when you hit someone in Minecraft, knockback isn't always based on where they are standing. Sometimes it's based on where you're looking at the exact moment the hit registers. So if you hit someone and flick your camera away in the same take, you can send them flying in a completely different direction. And for a lot of people, this felt like Malo clearing her name, because it explained why her aim looks weird in clips. Those moments where she hits someone and instantly looks away unsuspicious. They are just her using this advanced technique. And honestly, that's a pretty good explanation for the aim stuff. Like the tutorial does explain weird looking aim. But dude, it doesn't explain everything else. It doesn't explain the 99% shield stun consistency. It doesn't explain the frame perfect macro timing. It doesn't explain the backstage stall. And it definitely doesn't explain why her performance in the handcam video was so different from her normal gameplay. Like a tutorial about knockback mechanics doesn't explain how you can hit in negative frames or consistently hit in sub-tick timing. And honestly, this is kind of Malo's strategy at this point. Like she takes one small piece of the accusations, explains it really well, and then acts like she's addressed everything. But she hasn't. She's cherry-picked the easiest accusation to explain and ignored all the rest. Okay, so finally after everything, Malo made an announcement that shocked everyone. She posted in the Minecraft Vanilla PvP community Discord saying she was transferring ownership of MCtiers and leaving all her stuff positions. And in her announcement, she said that the bitterness toward her position had grown to a point where it was actively hurting the community. And she believed her presence was no longer good for the health and stability of the community. But then she made something very clear. She said, "I reject the claims of corruption, theft, and abuse that have been made against me as an owner, and my decision to transfer ownership does not serve as a concession to being guilty of these claims." So she's stepping down, but she's not admitting to anything. She's saying she's leaving because the drama is bad for the community, not because she did anything wrong. And then she said, "I intend to release an extensive video covering and conclusively debunking these claims. In fact, it's among my top priorities at the moment." So she's promising a full response video where she'll debunk everything, but no timeline, just at some point in the future. And then she said something really important. She's giving up ownership, but she's staying in competitive play. And she's saying that her success was never about being the owner, it was always about her skill and dedication. And dude, this is actually really smart, because now she can compete without owning the server. And if she still dominates, she can say, "See? I was always legit. My success had nothing to do with owning the tier list." But if her performance drops now that she doesn't control everything, well, that's gonna raise a lot of questions. And Rai, who's taking over MCtiers, made a follow-up post, and he said his focus is on making sure the system is fair and reliable for competitors. And that keyword fair is addressing all the corruption concerns. So that's the full story, from Malo building MCtiers from nothing to becoming a first tier 1 player in every game mode, to the mounting evidence of cheating, to finally stepping down while denying everything. And honestly, I think the next few months are gonna be really important, because Malo is gonna release her response video, and she's gonna keep competing, and we're gonna see if her performance stays the same without owning the server. Maybe she'll show definitive proof that she's been legit this whole time. Maybe all the suspicious stuff has reasonable explanations. Or maybe the evidence will keep piling up. Maybe more people will come forward. Maybe the response video will raise more questions than it answers. But what I do know is that this is the biggest drama the Minecraft competitive scene has ever seen, and it's not over yet. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Do you think Malo is legit and this is all just a witch hunt? Or do you think the evidence is too strong to ignore? And what do you think is gonna happen when she releases a response video? Like, I'm really curious to hear what you guys think, and I hope this video helped. If you made it this far, comment the word perfect down below. And if you guys want to stay updated on this situation and see what happens next, make sure to hit that subscribe button and drop a like on the video. And at the time of editing this video, new evidence has just dropped that changes the entire situation. So click the video up on screen if you're interested. Anyways, goodbye!